Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of The Devil's Due. I am your host, Carl Duty. Court is back in session. With me, as always, is the man who is rumored to be the first downloadable character in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, Mr. Drew Celestino.
Man, that roster needs work.
It does.
If I'm getting included, that's not good.
No, man, you'd be a great addition to the cast.
Sure.
Be a little, since they can't have Wolverine in there, they can get you in there.
Little ball of hate in there. Sure.
Yeah, a little ravaging,
Can I do the Tornado Claw? Can I do that?
Sure.
All right, cool.
We'll even give you the Weapon X.
I'm okay with all this.
Yeah. How's it going, sir?
Woo!
You have a problem with impulse control, don't you?
No, I'm usually pretty good, but
well, spoilers for the opening statements. We'll just cut right to it.
Sure.
How was your week?
Oh, it's been a whirlwind week, man. So let's back up before we get to right here, right now. The week was basically predicated on getting the party prepped at my house.
Yes.
So that requires a whole bunch of work and full marks to the wife for making a lot of things happen. Lord knows I would forget more than half the things that she remembers to do to get the place, ready to go for a big, massive endeavor hosting 40-some people at your house. So,
yes.
So getting all that taken care of, mowing the lawn, washing the windows, vacuum, shampoo the carpets, put things out, get ice, make sure the bar is stocked, make sure the food is ordered. It's a lot of work.
I, as you know, enjoy entertaining.
Yeah, likewise.
Julie is very much not a fan of that time right before the party starts.
No, it's high stress.
Because I become what is known as pre-party Carl, in which everything needs to be done a certain way, which is my way. And if you don't do it my way, I'm going to get angry.
I understand.
So,
well, that's more pre-party Jen. I'm a little more freeform, because I'm like, we're going to be partying. No one's going to care. And 9 times out of 10...
that's where I agree with Jen, because presentation counts for a lot.
It does. It absolutely does. But at the same time, it's like once drinks are flowing, like, who cares? But having said all that, party worked out great. So everything was good. Food was good. Drinks were good.
Good. That was a good time.
Everything was very, very, very good. After you left, things escalated to a fun degree.
As they tend to do.
Yeah.
Wish we could have stayed around longer, but baby is baby.
Baby is baby. I understand
baby
completely.
Bed.
It's all good. So that was great. I had a great time. Sunday rolled in. I kind of kept the party rolling to a degree. Unintentionally, my aunt texted us and said, like, "Hey, adults only gathering at our house today. If you guys want to come over, as in like no kids, no bringing the little ones.
That typically
So basically, my aunts, my uncles, all my cousins, Jen and I, we all went over to my aunt's house. She has a really nice sprawl, heated pool, jacuzzi, just a big little impromptu gathering where, drinks continued to flow, and food was good, family was good. My grandma made it out, which was really cool because she doesn't get out too much anymore, so it was good that she got to get out and get some family time in. So that was awesome. So now we're kind of catching up to the task at hand, which brings us to yesterday, where I woke up.
Yesterday.
Monday.
So many things I know.
Ho hum.
That's actually foreshadowing for my week.
Okay. So Monday's Monday, right? You go to work and you're like, oh, here we go again.
I don't hate Mondays.
I don't hate...
Because everything has to have a beginning.
I suppose.
So I don't begrudge Monday for simply being a beginning.
That's fair enough, I guess. I don't begrudge...
I hate Thursdays.
Why Thursday? Because you're just ready to go.
Monday's the beginning. It's got to be there. Tuesday and Wednesday you're at the middle. You're done. You're right. You're past the middle. You're ready for Friday. But no, you got to go through Thursday.
See, I'm completely ambivalent on Thursdays. So Monday rolls around, and it's not that I hate my place of employment, because I don't. They're awesome, actually. It's just Monday. Like, I especially after the weekend I had, I could use a little extra time to kind of decompress. So I go into work Monday morning, and I'm, got some things to do. I got some web stuff to get up onto the internet so clients can be happy, which I do in the first couple hours that I'm there. But in that first couple hours that I'm there, I get an inauspicious email from 9 Inch Nails, and it says, "Here is a specially generated code for you to purchase tickets to a show at Webster Hall in New York City tonight." And I was like, wow.
Drew, where do we live?
Buffalo, New York, which is across the state.
Yes, and what a lot of people may not realize is that New York City is not a quick jaunt.
No, that's a 6.5 hour drive.
Yes.
So I was like, wow, that's cool that they're doing something, an unannounced club show. The club that they announced this for is like a 1,500 capacity venue. So it's not big. So I was like, wow, man, that's awesome. What a experience that would be. And I told my best friend who lives in New York City, who happened to be online, and I was like, yo, man, I just got this email with this 9 Inch Nails presale code for the show, this unannounced secret show tonight. You should go to this. And he was like, yeah? I'm like, dude, look, the show I saw in 2014 was one of the absolute greatest concerts I've ever witnessed in my life by any band, period. 9 Inch Nails was incredible. So I'm like, if you can go to this, man, you should go. And he jokingly just kind of goes like, man, if you got in the car right now, you could make it too. And I was just like, yeah. And then I was like, wait a minute.
Wait a second. Math is math.
So what ends up happening over the next 30 minutes or so is he gets a ticket for himself. Because he ended up getting his own email with his own generated code as well. So now there's two codes between us and the opportunity to purchase tickets between us. So he has his. And I'm like, maybe I could make this work. So I asked my boss, I'm like, listen, man, this is a ridiculous question. But if I were to leave here a little before lunch and take tomorrow off to go to this show, would that be cool? And he's like, is everything you're caught up on? I'm like, yeah, go. I'm like, okay. So I'll get back to my desk. I try to get tickets with the code. Sold out already.
Aww.
Gone. I'm like, because I was like, am I really doing this? Am I really?
We good? This is gonna happen?
Emotionally, I'm getting all pumped up. I'm like, am I really?
Do a little Smokey and the Bandit, eastbound and down,
right? So for about 5 minutes, I'm like, My friend though is like, hold on, I'm gonna try using my code because I guess he used mine to get his. It's complicated, but he's going through the steps again, and he's like, yo, I got one right now. Give me your credit card information. I'm like, oh my god. So credit card gets dispensed. Like,
how quickly you dispense with the information?
Oh, very quickly in this case. So yeah, I got a ticket to this 9 Inch Nails concert in New York City. So I woke up in Buffalo, went to work like any other Monday.
Yep.
And within the first couple hours of my morning, my day took a radically different trajectory.
Yes, it did.
So then it's a matter of, well, do I get in the car, drive the 6.5 hours into Manhattan, into the East Village, find a place to park, and go? And, time-wise, it wouldn't be ideal, but I would easily make it.
Yeah.
And then my amazing wife says, I have a bunch of points on our JetBlue card. Do you want to just get a ticket to fly you there and get you a flight in like an hour?
Flying to New York is awesome.
So it's like,
it's a 45-minute flight.
This is just wonderful. Well, the flight is awesome. It's the aftermath. It's a pain. So
flew into JFK.
Flew into JFK. Yeah, JetBlue Terminal 5.
JFK is
ain't no thing
in and of itself.
Oh yeah. So, within an hour of leaving my office, I went home. Within 20 minutes of leaving the office, I run home. I get my work clothing off. I throw crap in a backpack, grab my Switch, of course, and call Lyft, go to the airport, and I am off to New York City I land at like 2:30-ish in the afternoon. Takes me a good hour to get into the city on the train because it's a good hour train ride from JFK into the city. But I get in there. I meet his wife at the MoMA, and I hang out at the MoMA for a while and check out some cool fine art pieces because I'm cultured like that.
You are. You is the smarts.
I'm so cultured. I can culture the crap out of you. Anyway. So basically it works out to where she gets out of work. I enjoy about an hour and a half of fine art appreciation. And then we hit the East Village. We go to the best dumpling place in the city. And
that's saying something.
Gorge ourselves on delicious steamed dumplings, pork and peanut. Oh my God, the peanut. Oh my God, the peanut dumplings. Anyway, so good. So we're full. We're good. We're happy. On to the show. I woke up in Buffalo, went to work like any other day.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, I am in New York City, about to witness a incredible performance by a band that has no right to be playing a venue of this scale at their scale anymore. But
size of the venue compared to the venue you saw Metallica in Toronto?
Yes, it was
about the same size.
Yeah.
The smaller venue.
Yes.
Okay.
Tiny. So I walked in. I'm just like, this place is a lot smaller than I thought it was. This is going to be out of control. And lo and behold, it was absolutely out of control. It was one of the greatest shows I've ever seen.
Nice.
Amazing. The set was fire. Amazing set list. Just oh my God, I could not believe the stuff that they played. So, just incredible. And being, that close, and the crowd was amped up. Like, it was just kind of a free-for-all. And it was 85 degrees in the outside in the summer in New York, so inside it was real hot.
Yeah.
So it was just a sweaty mess in there.
Yep.
But everybody went...
It doesn't matter who you dial.
Dude,
everyone...
No. But man, it was just all those people that were at this show. This show was not on sale to the public. This was an invite only kind of deal, like I said, and so everyone there was there for everybody was pretty dialed up, and it was just a magical show. Like everybody was into it. The set was great. The performance was great. Everything was fantastic. And so yeah, man, I went. We went back after the show. Went back to his place, crashed. Well, washed up a little bit to try and get the gallons of funk that have accumulated on us over the course of the evening off. Really weird, man. I did not sleep well, and I had one of the most vivid and horrific dreams in recent memory.
Really?
Yes. I'm not going to go into details, but needless to say, it was one of those times where I wasn't sure if I was awake or dreaming. It was like that level.
Yeah.
And like it was really, really messed up, and it freaked me out. And that was uncool. Anyway, woke up this morning, left with them. They were going to work.
Was it a recreation of the scene from Pulp Fiction in the basement of the pawn shop?
No.
You were the gimp?
No, sir. No. It was much weirder.
Wario was the one...
No. It was very. It was. Maybe I'll tell you about it sometime. It was a super strange, and the reason why it's so. I only bring it up because it was one of those like, literally full body. Am I awake or am I not awake?
Like when you wake, you need to adjust to reality.
Yeah, like because I've
had a couple of those.
It took place in the room I was in. Like that's where it was all like happening, and like. I swear, I woke up in the morning. I'm like, if I like was screaming in the middle of the night, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, you weren't, but I thought I was because it was that level of like I couldn't tell the difference between reality and fantasy. Anyway, so I'm on a little bit of sleep right now. We went out this morning. They went to work. I had to fend for myself. I made a quick pit stop to the Nintendo World Store because I have to do because
like you do.
Exactly.
Anything good?
I did not buy anything good for me, but I did have to hook up the wife with a new tank top because unfortunately Nine Inch Nails did not have any tank tops for sale. So he told me to get her one. They did not have any. And she's like, well, okay, never mind. So I had to find something to show some appreciation. So brought back a little something for her. And then it was just a straight shot to the airport. Breezed on through everything. Sat down at the gate 10 minutes before boarding. Got on the plane. Got back. Took an Uber home. I've been home for about an hour. so more or less, when I was texting with you earlier, that was literally walking in the door. And here I am now, back into reality on a Tuesday after my Monday excursion, a one-day excursion in New York City that I will never, ever, 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 ever forget. But wow, what a weird set of circumstances the last couple of days have been.
That's pretty crazy. That's awesome, though. That's kind of like something, you hear about famous people or rich people doing and whatnot. And you went for it.
What was that mantra that I've been trying to espouse? Life is short. Buy the concert tickets.
I thought it was life is short, so am I.
Well, that goes without saying. I don't like to say that one. Yeah, life is short. Buy the concert tickets, and that was just kind of ringing through my head. How many times is this going to be a thing that I'm going to be able to say? I went to this Nine Inch Nails show where they played for 1,500 people.
No, that's true.
I had to do it, and I made it happen. So, bucket list, call it whatever, however you want to demarcate it, but I made it work and made it happen, and I'm still giddy over all of it. It was incredible.
Cool.
Yeah. How was your week?
Well, before I get into my week, I think it's very important to send out a congratulations and well wishes to friend of the show, one-time guest, Mr. Michael Hoffert.
Hoff had a big week.
Hoff had a bigger week than both of us put together. Mr. Michael Hoffert not only just recently purchased a home with his dear, I don't want to bury the lead on this, but dear friend Chelsea Miller.
Dear friend.
It's a special lady friend.
Yeah.
But nary had they been living in the home for 48 hours before Mike went and did the old drop down on one knee and proposed. Chelsea said yes. So
awkward. She didn't.
that would have made, it's tough to sleep on the couch you haven't unpacked yet. But congratulations to Mike and Chelsea on your new home purchase and now your engagement. We wish you all the best from us here at the Devil's Due.
That's not all. He also got a dog.
He did. I saw that today. He got a dog.
See?
And they have a cat.
It's
dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. It's just not right. Pick one. You don't get to have communism and democracy at the same time. Pick one.
Sure you do.
So yeah, that was Mike's big week. Just figure we throw that in there. As far as my week, I had your party, which was a blast.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
Good
food, good people. I did much better at Can Jam than you did.
Yeah,
I was heckling.
I'm not made for sports, man.
It's
not meant.
Can Jam.
It involves a physical throwing motion. It's just not meant to be.
So that was a good time. That was Saturday night. Sunday, we did very little. We just had chill day on Sunday, which I'm sure you can appreciate.
Oh, absolutely.
But actually, was it Friday night? No, earlier in the week before your party, I watched a great documentary on Hulu called Doomed.
Oh?
The story of the Roger Corman Fantastic Four.
I've heard of this documentary.
It is awesome. You need to watch it.
Do they have interviews with cast and crew?
The whole cast.
Wow.
Yep. Cast, crew, director, screenwriter, everyone. No one there were numerous, we attempted to contact Stan Lee for this documentary, but he declined to be interviewed. We attempted to contact Avi Arad for this documentary, declined to be interviewed.
Oh, man. So, I would hope someone would show up with some kind of anecdotal story.
Just kind of embrace it.
Yeah, it exists.
It is what it is. It is still the best Fantastic Four movie that's been made.
That's right. I think we probably talked about this before. I think I said it before. Its heart was in the right place, and you could argue that it got more right than the other movies did.
It's got, okay, just doing like a side-by-side comparison in my head. The Thing was better in the Roger Corman movie. Dr. Doom was better in the Roger Corman movie. Fantastic Four costumes themselves, they were off the page in the Roger Corman movie, but they were kind of like Spirit Halloween store off the page. So we'll give that one to the other one.
Sure, but keep in mind, this movie was never really meant to be released.
Which came as a surprise to the cast and crew. They all thought it was getting released. And like the story of what they did to promote the film afterwards is really interesting.
I'll have to check it out. All I remember seeing from anything from that movie was in Wizard Magazine. That was it.
Yeah. It's on Hulu, the documentary.
Okay.
Doomed, the story of the Roger Corman Fantastic Four. I would highly recommend that. So that was earlier in the week, and then we had your party, and then I'm just checking the text message to get the day right. Okay. So you know how you were just talking about a concert?
Yeah.
Sunday, I get a text message from my friend Brian, who mentioned last week, and like we did the wedding invitation party with him.
Yeah.
And he was on the show. Gets a text message saying, "Hey, my boss just offered me a couple tickets to Guns N' Roses. You want to go?" And I was like, "Yes, I do."
Hey, look at you now.
Yeah, and I was, how we were just talking last week. Is just
you were on the fence, but now
I'm like, how much are the tickets? He's like, you know what? You're doing a lot for the wedding. It's on me. It's like, okay, that price is
good for you.
Is understandable. Not understandable is a bad word. That price is acceptable.
I hope so. It's nothing.
I was sleeping literally 10 minutes before we started recording.
You were.
Had the boy sleeping on me, which, not for nothing, is the best thing in the world. When the kid falls asleep on you, it's great. So yeah, August 16th.
August 16th.
I'm going to see Guns N' Roses.
Where are your seats?
Don't know. They're free, so it doesn't matter where they are. It's just free.
As long as you're there.
Ticket.
All right, man. Take it in.
I'll watch them on a big TV, so be it.
Who's opening?
I don't care.
Okay.
I'm going to see Guns N' Roses.
Fair enough. Yeah. I guess that's really all you need. I'm just curious if they have a big gun act out with them too, but cool.
Yeah, I don't know who's opening. I'm hoping that I haven't heard anything on this current tour about them reverting to their old ways.
I've heard they've been very good.
Start time around 9 o'clock, and then the opening act doesn't start till 1 in the morning.
I don't think they're doing that anymore. I think it's all they're getting this this train's arriving on time.
This night train.
See what you did there.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a good time. So yeah, that was pretty much my week.
Killer.
So yeah, dear fans, dear listeners, dear friends, if you would like to tell us about your week, if you'd like to send any questions to the show, if you would like to send any comments or suggestions to the show, we always want to hear from you. You can reach out to us at the following social media outlets. You can find us on Twitter at Devils Do Pod. You can go to Facebook.com/DevilsDoPod. You can go to the devilsdopod@gmail.com, or you can find all these resources available to you at thedevilsdopodcast.com. And Drew, in between time, we started recording, and now we have gotten an email.
Oh my God, look at that.
Jay is back in the game, folks.
Jay Gelsomino.
After a 2-week absence.
Jay was at the party.
Was he?
Yeah.
Did he show up?
He showed up.
Oh, I missed
it. Was
Jay.
Great. It was fantastic.
How sober were you at this time?
Still reasonably sober.
Okay. All right.
I didn't hallucinate Jay being there. He was there. That's what you're implying.
Okay, so Jay's question to us. Drew and Carl, if you could replace one comic character with the Ultimate Warrior.
Wow.
Promo skills and all, who would it be?
Okay, let me think. Who would the Warrior make much more interesting? You know what? Let's just go for broke here. Just because the dynamic would be out of control, and I'd be curious to see how they'd bounce off of each other. Robin, buddy, you're okay, but I want to see how Batman would take teaming up with someone as incoherently insane as the Ultimate Warrior. Robin, get the car. We're going to get the car from parts unknown. Kick in the cockpit doors, and the pilots are already dead. All of this.
All the warriors.
Yes, I want to see that interaction happen.
I'm going to say Professor X.
Okay.
Because imagine him teaching young mutants.
Sure. He could teach them about whatever his concept, destricity. I don't know. The Warriors are lunatics.
Your powers come from beyond where the warrior hails from.
Wow, you did it. Although, to be fair, having the warrior in charge of a disenfranchised youth culture that has allusions to other, possibly oppressed
Go ahead, spit out.
Let's just say the Warrior and, homosexuals aren't exactly on the same page. So maybe the X-Men, who can be kind of analogous to civil rights and to gay rights and other oppressed people, maybe the Warrior is not the best person to put into the mix to advocate for them. I don't know. Maybe.
That's why as Alan Waiters has taught us, sometimes you just got to sit back with a bucket of popcorn and
just watch the world burn.
Watch it burn.
That would be fun, though.
Okay, so Jay's question for you, I guess this is something I missed at the party.
Okay.
It says, baths, showers, or power bombs into a pool? ?
I'm not going to lie. I'll take the hot shower every time. Power bombs into a pool? Overrated.
I saw the video, sir. That was not a power bomb.
You saw the second video.
Oh, okay.
Apparently someone missed the first video
there
of
was
the power bomb.
A proper
power bomb? A 3-man power bomb.
Oh, okay. I'm guessing, did your back hit the water on an angle or flat?
I flat backed the water, but I did hit the bottom of the pool.
Oh, ow.
So there is that to contend with.
Like, how hard?
The water broke the fall.
Yeah.
But I did touch bottom.
Okay.
So, Yeah. So, yeah, give me the hot shower. I much prefer that. Much prefer the hot shower. Oh, God, the shower was so gross this morning, dude. I saw the in the drain.
Was there a ring afterwards?
Oh, there might as well have been, dude. The water was filthy coming off of me. I was just like, oh, my God, I can't believe that. That's so gross. Burn these sheets.
I'm just going to say the last time I had to use the facilities of your house, I was very disappointed in the lack of Zima in the bathroom. I was hoping to kick back with a nice chill Zima.
You have to talk to Tim Book about that one. Mr. Zima Lever himself.
Yep. Okay, so Jay's question to me: if Alan bought you a Switch, a working lightsaber, and 24 hours to sniff Harrison Ford, would you actually let him win once in a game of X-Wing?
Wow.
I think Jay's kind of confused as to who I play X-Wing with. Alan has yet to play X-Wing with me. If he were to play, I'm not going to let him win.
Would you let him win if he got you a Switch, a lightsaber, and some quality time with Harrison Ford? That's a pretty good deal.
It is. But then there's integrity.
Integrity's overrated.
Let me put it this way. I would not let him win air finger quotes.
Uh-huh.
But I would fly a very weak build against him.
Okay.
To better his
so
chances.
You'd set him up for success, but you can't necessarily guarantee he's going to succeed.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, yeah. So there you go.
That's how serious games are to you.
Thank you, Jay, for those questions. And actually, that X1 question leads us into today's show pretty nicely.
It does. It does.
We got some stuff to cover before that, but we have a very special guest on the show today. But we'll get to that when we do. But first, as cross-examination is done, it is time to get to the case files. The news of the week here on The Devil's Due. We got some stuff to go over. It's the week after Comic-Con, so it's nothing, earth-shattering.
Some new stuff has come to light, though.
Some new stuff has come to light.
So, I guess I want to let's get it out of the way.
I'm going to lead off.
I'm staring at it, so let's get it out of the way. That Watchmen show.
Yeah.
Not quite as a done deal as we thought it was.
Yeah, well, they said it was in development. And in development can mean such a myriad of things.
Sure.
But, yeah, a story came out earlier this week that David Lindelof has nary met with HBO about Watchmen. And not only that, he said that if he were to do a show, he would not want to strictly adhere to the comics.
Well, he said he's debating what the proper approach would be. And when we talked about this, I kind of said the same thing. Like, maybe doing the slavish adaptation isn't what it needs right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it is time to get someone kind of a fresh look at it and figure out what's the best way to make this work now.
Yeah.
In a way that's not going to come off as cliche or boring. Because, like you said, Watchmen has kind of been ripped off by a lot of stuff since its release. And to keep it fresh, you might have to kind of spruce it up a little. And I don't mean spruce it up in the way Zack Snyder spruced it up with dumb action and, silliness, missing the point of the original. Anyway, let's not beat up on old Zack. So yeah, you know how I am with Lindelof in general.
Yeah,
on the fence due to Lost tearing my heart out. Anyway,
so would you say now that you're kind of at a point with it where you're like, I'll wait till I see a trailer?
I have to wait to see what the intent is. I guess I don't really have much of a opinion. Again, I've run the gamut with Watchmen so many times to where it's like, you know what, dude, the original work is the original work, and in its form, it is as perfect as it can be in that form.
Yeah,
adapting it honestly doesn't need to be done, and I don't really. I'm kind of over worrying about it being done justice or not, because the original's always there, and it's perfect as it is.
Yep,
and you can't touch it.
There's also something to be said, though, for doing an adaptation that's like, okay, we're going to do 12 episodes. Each episode's going to be one of the issues.
Sure.
And that's going to be it.
It's one thing to say that. It's another to do it and see if it works in that format. Because it has to work as a... if they're going to do that... If they're going to do that kind of idea, that kind of show, I want the show to work as flawlessly and seamlessly as the book does. And when you're doing one medium to another, that's not necessarily going to be the case. Yeah. Because now with a comic book, again, with comics, you are not at the mercy of any sort of time. You're at the mercy of the reader's time. How much are they going to gloss over a panel? How much are they going to invest and dive into every nook and cranny of that panel? On TV or movies, you're moving across time. So you, the creator, are deciding what to linger on, what not to linger on. So that's what I mean, where I think if you're going to adapt it, you might have to take some liberties in order to get the story told in the best way possible for television. So if you have to change a few things or, speed through stuff or linger longer on other things to get that message across, even if it diverts, I'm okay with that, but I want it to be as tight and as perfect as the book. It might not be a one-to-one comparison because they're not one-to-one mediums.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So, be interesting to see what happens.
Totally. I'm curious. Let's see what they decide.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so
You're snickering. That's always a good sign.
because we have a couple snicker-worthy. You know what? I'm just going to jump into it.
Okay, let's go.
John Cena is going to be in the Transformers spin-off movie, the Bumblebee spin-off movie, a.k.a. Money the Movie.
John Cena.
John Cena!
How can John Cena be a movie star if nobody can see him? Yeah. So in other words, the Transformers franchise continues to double down on its Boston hunk leads, I guess, huh?
I think the only thing that they could do to make you hate this movie more is put Roman Reigns in it.
Well, that's a guaranteed way to make me hate basically anything.
What if they cast Roman Reigns in Watchmen?
Who would he play in Watchmen?
Doesn't matter.
He's not much of an actor. Let's just put it that way.
We'll say Dr. Manhattan. We'll go the full.
No, I don't need to see any more of Roman than I already see. Much
you don't
less
need
all
to see
of him.
Roman's reign.
No.
All right.
No. Nope. Sure.
This is like so. This entity, Transformers spinoff starring John Cena, just saying that.
Yeah.
Is everything that is wrong with Hollywood.
To be fair to Cena, he has been trying to get a foothold in Hollywood a little bit. This is quite the platform for him.
Yeah.
But it is a little. Yeah, it's a bit. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not gonna see it.
I'm not gonna see it either.
It is rather hilarious,
unless
though.
It's like streaming on something and it's free.
Even then, no. That's bizarre to me in a way. But I did read the synopsis of what they're going to do in that movie, though. It takes place in the 80s. Do you know that?
Great.
Do you know what else about this movie?
What?
Bumblebee's a bug again.
Don't care at this point.
He's a VW bug in this movie.
The only thing...
How does that make sense? Why is he a Camaro later?
The only thing...
What is happening?
...that would get me to even consider spending money on this movie is if they did like straight up 80s in robot mode, straight up 80s, and he talks, and because he doesn't talk in Transformers, he's essentially R2D2.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And it would have to they would have to do a lot to get me to plop down money for a Michael Bay Transformers movie. Well, I don't think as you are with G.I. Joe, I am with Transformers.
That's fair. I totally understand where you're coming from. Yeah, yay.
So I need to see like the mini Viking helmet, robot mode.
Yeah,
Bumblebee.
Can he transform into Goldbug later?
I don't like. It's so frustrating because there are so many Autobots that are more interesting than Bumblebee.
But are they as marketable?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, sorry, Ultra Magnus. Someday your turn will come.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking like original, like season 1.
Okay.
Autobots. I mean, why is Bumblebee the central character? Why isn't Optimus Prime central? Even though you murdered his character at this point.
He's the central character of all these movies. Well, he's the central transformer in all these movies. So it's like saying, honestly, well, I'm sticking my foot in my mouth here, and here's why. I was just about to say, why give Wolverine a solo movie when the X-Men movies are just basically Wolverine movies anyway? But they gave him 3 of them on his own. So never mind. I take it all back. I take it all back, Hollywood. You know everything. What do I know?
Yeah. So I'm sure that will be a colossal car wreck to watch.
Ha! Car wreck.
See what I did there?
Yeah. Because he's a car.
So earlier in this week, it was also, we got our first look at Domino for Deadpool 2 film.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the way they did it because of like they were parodying the Deadpool reveal for the first film, which was a parody
on the carpet or whatever.
Yeah,
yeah.
But if you notice, it's not like the tiger carpet; it's Deadpool.
They're doing like a thing.
It's like a deflated.
I see.
Deadpool. So yeah, saw the picture. Okay. I get, like we were talking earlier before the show, this is not a Sacred Cow character, so
not
changing
really.
the appearance, sure. I just kind of wish that the spot around the eye was still black.
I agree, and I see what they're going for because they cast a black actress to play her.
Yeah, which is fine.
No, I don't. Dude, totally cool. But they flip because of that. Like some clever Hollywood guy's like, we're gonna flip her color scheme because. Yeah. And yeah, I see what you did there, but it makes her look kind of normal. Like she just looks like a normal woman who happens to have vitiligo on her eye, which is an actual skin condition. And that's okay, I guess, but it doesn't make her look like, I don't know. We're talking about movies with Deadpool and mutants and Colossus in it. Do we really need to kind of ground this character into like a more realistic appearance?
Yeah.
I don't know. Especially in a Deadpool film, which is just like zany, wacky, crazy.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm all in for another Deadpool movie. The first one was freaking amazing.
It just comes down to us being costume visual purists, I guess. Like,
yeah, and I mean, Domino's never really had much of a costume.
No, but just her signature thing is the black eye.
Yeah, the black oval around the eye.
Yeah, it's fine. No, it's cool.
Yeah.
I see what they're doing, and if it works, cool. Go for it, I guess.
Yeah. We're nitpicky, so
it's nitpicky as hell.
Nitpick.
It's all good.
So, rumor that not only is Ben Affleck staying with Batman, but he has signed on for a trilogy of Batman films.
Really?
And rumor within the rumor that they are developing a Batman Beyond movie.
Now I don't believe you.
Yeah, that word.
I would have believed you about the Affleck trilogy with Reeves. But that little icing on the cake with the Batman Beyond development is like, stop. No one's doing that.
I think Warner Brothers probably backed up the money truck to Affleck. An extra little money truck that the rest of the league doesn't know about.
Probably. Which is fitting because, Batman rich.
Yeah.
You know.
So they probably got him to stay because, who knows? They might have listened to our show and listened to me when I said if you lose Affleck, that's the body blow. That's what's going to...
You're going to reel a little bit from that.
Yeah.
But we don't have we have no confirmation on this.
It's a rumor.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm not going to throw it on the dumpster fire, but it's in it's in the kindling pile.
It's in the kindling pile.
So let's get some confirmation on that before we commit.
Yeah, the Batman Beyond rumors. Yeah, that film is never happening.
No way. That's too unbelievable.
That film probably should have happened 20 years ago.
To me, it's such a high concept, honestly, that you're never going to sell an executive on releasing that as a film. Yeah. There's no way. There's too many considerations to make that work.
Clint Eastwood, though, makes such a good Bruce Wayne.
Like Michael Keaton, though. I mean, he's right there.
Yeah, but like Clint Eastwood.
Yeah,
like,
but people said that about Dark Knight Returns.
Crotchety.
I know. But I'm air quoting, continuity is what I'm looking at.
I know. No, I've said before, if you're going to do a straight-up Dark Knight Returns film, my Batman is Ed Harris.
I can see that. That'd be interesting, actually.
And my Joker is Christopher Walken.
Wow.
Batman. Darling.
I kind of want to see that now, actually. All right.
I never kept count. Wait, no. Joker's line was, I never kept count.
I never kept count.
I did. I know you did. And I love you for it.
Anyway.
So, some really great news here.
Oh?
Yes. Not so much for you. You're not going to care that much. They have announced for Flash Season 4 that Danny Trejo will be in Season 4.
All right.
Going to be playing a villain. Anytime we can get more Danny Trejo in anything, is a good thing. I would not mind going out to Los Angeles and visiting Danny Trejo Donuts or Danny Trejo Tacos.
Now, see, that is a celebrity food chain I can get behind.
It's because it's Danny Trejo.
That's
and
right.
You'd be scared to, like...
Well,
Danny Trejo hears all, so speak not ill of him.
I will never speak ill of Danny Trejo, and he's way more likable than Mark Wahlberg. So, Mark Wahlberg didn't make Machete.
He wishes he did.
That's right.
So, yeah. So that was announced. Also was announced that the DC character Elongated Man is going
Ralph
to be
Dibny.
in Flash Season 4. I love how the CW verse, as it's come to be known, embrace it. They don't... I'm not going to say they don't care about the big three, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman.
But they can't touch him. So they
embrace everything else.
Yeah.
Like, you've got, on one show, you have Green Arrow, Mr. Terrific, The League of Assassins, Ra's al Ghul. Another show, you've got, The Flash. They took Vibe and made Vibe a cool character.
Vibe, huh?
Yeah.
What a power set. Ladies love him.
They've tweaked the power set a little bit.
Oh.
But he's got the costume.
See, this is what happens when you can't...
And it's just... They had the Justice Society.
I respect I respect that approach.
They've done a good Jonah Hex.
Which Hollywood couldn't even do.
No.
Thanos couldn't even do it.
So, yeah, I'm excited.
Cool. Very cool.
But no, I'm sorry, you were saying before I...
No, I'm just saying, like, I appreciate when you can't rest on the Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman crutch, you're forced to get creative.
Yeah.
Good. Look how much more there is out there. Go for it.
I would argue that DC's bench is a little bit deeper than Marvel's.
No, I can't get there. I think they're both pretty deep.
For one reason, we don't Marvel is just constantly throwing their characters out there, like trying to find space for and whatnot, which is, I think, it's good to keep the characters in the public eye. DC doesn't really do that with a lot of their older characters, more Golden Age inspired characters and whatnot. So I really like that these shows are embracing them.
Yeah. No, it's a super cool approach, and it goes to show what you can do when you aren't allowed to touch certain things.
Yeah.
And once again,
they did Gorilla Grodd.
Something that George Lucas never learned. Limitations lead to creatively good decisions.
Yes.
So, anyway.
So, yeah. So, that was that. Now we have to talk about something sad.
Oh.
But not, it's sad, but, happy for whatnot. It was announced yesterday that voice director Andrea Romano will be retiring from doing voice direction. Now, folks, some of you know, some of you may need a little help here. Basically, if it's a cartoon that you've enjoyed starting around the time of DuckTales going forward, Andrea Romano has most likely been responsible for the voices in the show. But the thing she will be known for the most is Batman the Animated Series.
If she gave us Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, then that she deserves a place in some Hall of Fame somewhere.
She gave us the definitive voices of Batman and Joker. And not only that, and again, some people know, some people don't. Little bit of trivia here. Mark Hamill was not the original voice cast as the Joker.
I've heard this before.
It was Tim Curry.
Yeah.
And they had actually had 3 episodes recorded with Tim Curry, and then Mark Hamill, being the huge animation nut that he is, really wanted to get in on this and ended up doing an audition. He did the Joker, and the rest, as they say, is history.
So they replaced Tim Curry?
They replaced Tim Curry.
Have those episodes ever seen the light of day?
No.
That footage is...
I'm sure you could probably find it somewhere out there.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, so she's done countless... She did all the Bruce Timm Paul Dini shows.
Cartoons, okay.
So Batman, Superman, Batman Beyond, Justice League Unlimited, any number of Cartoon Network shows she's responsible for the voices for. It was always a pleasure getting to watch her on the behind-the-scenes featurettes of the DC animated films, because most of those she was the voice director of as well. And just hearing her talk about the process and the respect she has for that process, I would highly recommend. There's an episode, she did an episode of The Nerdist. I would highly recommend going back, and it's an older one. Find it, listen to it. It's such a great episode. Also, if you're digging through the Nerdist archives, the Robert Paulson and Maurice LaMarche episode, the guys who did the voice of Pinky and the Brain. And Robert Paulson did the voice of Yakko in Animaniacs. And to this day, he can do the country song. They did that on the show. That was his first take.
Wow.
He did that on his first take. And they're like, I guess we should get a second take just in case. But like, and he could do it from memory anytime.
You got a gimmick. Stick with it.
So, yeah, definitely sad that she's not going to be out there anymore, but happy that she gets to enjoy the retirement she has definitely earned.
I guess it'll be curious to see what future animated projects sound like, and then we can all judge if they're up to snuff or not.
Well, mostly from what I understand, Bruce Timm still has his hand in most of the DC animated movies. So the one-offs that they do are still pretty good. They've never like made one where I've been like, oh god, this is terrible. They're still like, they're better than the Marvel animated movies.
Yeah,
Marvel's non-existent. Although
Marvel was strong in animation for about 2 years, and then they jettisoned it.
There's like a lot of random animes out there. There's like a Black Widow and Punisher anime.
Yeah, I don't watch any of these. I don't.
Yeah, they're not.
I don't need them.
I watched. I was like, nah.
But if you need some good Marvel in your life, Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes was.
Oh god, it was
amazing.
It was on the level of Batman the Animated Series.
And then they just flushed it.
Yep.
Oh.
They not only did they flush it. Not only did they flush it,
they replaced it with an inferior show.
They replaced it with another Avengers show that was nowhere near as good.
Yeah, oh man, silly decisions. That, yuck.
Yep.
Anyway,
so I think that's all the news we have. Is there anything you can remember, sir?
No, I think you've covered it all.
It was announced today that production has officially begun on Ant-Man and the Wasp.
All right,
They
cool.
announced it with an amusing little video that shows tiny little actors' chairs for Ant-Man and the Wasp.
That's going to be fun. That's going to be exciting. I like Ant-Man a lot. No, all I have is all I got that is of interest to me anyway. Nintendo actually came out and confirmed that they're going to take pre-orders. Well, not them, but retailers will be taking pre-orders on the SNES Classic at the end of the month.
Yeah, you and Alan have kind of gone through a little emotional roller coaster.
Well, we were part of we were in on the Walmart deal, and if you don't know what happened there, Walmart had them available for pre-order. Alan and I each got 2, and then over the weekend, people started reporting that they were notified by Walmart that it was a mistake on the website's part, and they were going to be orders were being canceled. Alan and I, our orders are still good. We didn't get any emails until about midweek. Then we got the dreaded email, and then after we got the dreaded email, we checked our accounts. In our accounts, they were, hey, there's my order. It's still there. Still says processing.
Still good.
Yeah. It was kind of like that. And, alas, by the end of the day, the order was officially canceled. So, thanks, Walmart, for your online ineptitude, for getting our hopes up. However, Nintendo, who really is not under any obligation to confirm or deny anything, did come out and put a statement out today saying retailers will be taking pre-orders at the end of the month. And at the time of, on release day, they're going to send a huge initial wave out there to get them out in people's hands, and then another big wave at the holidays. So, in other words, for all 40 people that want it, you will be able to get it, and for the rest
I'm sure there's more than
40. Are you sure? I don't know. The rest of us will be spending $500 on eBay. So anyway, I don't know. They said they're going to make more than they did than the NES Classic. So if that's true, then it might be a little easier to acquire one of these things. So we'll see.
It's okay. And just think, in a year you get to go through all this again with the N64 Classic.
No.
Drew, we are men of action. Lies do not become us. If Nintendo comes out with an N64 Classic, you're going to buy it.
I'll try to get one, but I'm not going to jump through hoops to get one. The SNES is the one that I'll do tricks like a seal to get one. So, dangle that fish. I'll clap. I'll roll around.
Bounce the ball in my
That's
nose.
right. Just give me the SNES Classic.
Soak it up to my veins.
So yeah, that's all I got. That's it.
Okay, cool. We had originally planned this week to have an interview and then do a retro review for Daredevil Comics. Things got a little bit changed because Drew got to go see Nine Inch Nails, and that's cool. That's fine.
It's also fine because that interview that you're about to hear is pretty lengthy.
It ran a little over, but I don't like bringing good conversation to a close.
No, never short your guests.
So yeah. So we're going to, this was recorded last week. We're going to play for you now our interview with Tim Bailey, a.k.a. Crabbok. And if I remember correctly, I did a fairly good lead into this, so we'll explaining the stuff. So we'll just let the interview speak for itself.
All right, man. Here you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we mentioned earlier in the show, we have a guest in the courthouse this week. Now, a lot of people might have noticed over the past couple months, I have been talking a lot about X-Wing because I have gotten into the X-Wing game. What Drew predicted would happen when I started getting into the X-Wing game has pretty much happened. I've gone full tilt into X-Wing, and folks, come on in. The water's fine. This game is incredibly fun. So I'm really excited about our guest now because our guest is more or less responsible for getting me into X-Wing. We do not shy away from our passions here on the show. Every now and again, someone says to us, well, you're a Daredevil show. I'm like, yes, Daredevil's kind of our hook. That's how we get you in, but we're never going to shy away from talking about our passions. Drew's passionate about beer and professional wrestling, fine crafted beer and good Japan professional wrestling. And we both share a passion for board games. And this gentleman's videos on YouTube that we have on the show right now, I started watching them, and they're high quality, and they just kind of got me in a little more, and then a little more, and then next thing I know, I'm buying an X-Wing core set and just tumbling down the Sarlacc pit deep. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show Mr. Tim Bailey. Tim, welcome to the courthouse.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's a great thrill to have you here. Like I said, your videos kind of got me into X-Wing. My wife, not your biggest fan, because she looks at
I can imagine.
She looks at the bank statement. I'm like, honey, it's just one chip a week. They're cheap.
They are pretty cheap. I actually have a store near me. I play a lot of my games at Cool Stuff. They have a big web store, but they also have some brick and mortar stores here in Orlando. And one of the things that they do for a lot of their tournaments is instead of paying a fee to play in the tournament, you can just buy an FFG expansion. Or an FFG, for those who don't know, is the Fantasy Flight Games, the company that makes the X-Wing and Armada and Destiny and all these Star Wars-based games. So you can basically buy one chip, and that counts as your tournament entry fee. So I tend to think of it as like a door prize. So because other places usually you pay $10 or whatever to play in a tournament for the day, and that counts as your entry fee. But this way, you kind of get to keep your entry fee. You get to bring it home with you. So that was one thing that helps.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool way of doing it. An easy way of growing the Armada, as you will.
Oh yeah, it's a great way to get you stuff. The problem is that when I first started playing, I did kind of what you did, is I said, oh, I want to, I'll just get a few things here, and then it was more and more and more and more in here, and and before I knew it, I was buying like 4 of every ship, and then at a certain point I was like, well, I don't need anything else, so I don't want to just pay. So there was a point where I was actually buying stuff as a tournament entry fee and then just giving it away to people, because I'm like, I don't want to just pay $10 and not get anything. I'd rather at least pay $11.95 and get an expansion and give it to somebody.
Yeah, it's a good way of doing it. So we're definitely going to get into X-Wing, but let's start at the beginning for you. I can tell, and anybody who's seen your videos can tell, that not only do you have a passion for X-Wing and Star Wars, but you see off in the background there sometimes just some board games in general. How did you kind of get into board gaming? What was kind of the hook that brought you in?
Well, the funny thing is, it's the other way around for me. It was X-Wing that got me into tabletop gaming. I used to always be just a PC gamer, and I started off with like Nintendo and all the all the consoles, and then I eventually led to PC gaming and kind of split back and forth between those. But my big thing was EverQuest 2, actually. And I started raiding and becoming like a hardcore raider. I got really big into, like, I was playing that. I was on the computer 24/7 at work for like a couple years. I used to play at work even, and like I would, have the whole minimize it when the boss walks around. But yeah, I was crazy about that. So it was all PC gaming for me, and then I started to have kids, and then I could play that less and less, because a lot of the games that I was playing required you be on online and available 24/7 or close to it. And like, we had call lists. Like, if a dragon would spawn, we all needed to go kill it before somebody else killed it. I would get calls at 3 a.m. to wake up, and yeah,
no,
it was hardcore. I mean, I was good at it too. Like Sony Online Entertainment at the time, who produced the game, they actually flew me out to Vegas for one of their fanfare conventions, and that's where my name comes from too, because my name in EverQuest 2 was Crabbok, and that's where I came up with the handle, and that's the YouTube channel, and and all of that. That's where it all came from, because sometimes people ask me that. But so I got so into that, and then I eventually started getting out of it little by little. I eventually threw in the towel and quit playing that, and played Star Wars: The Old Republic when that launched. And then I had another kid. Then I stopped playing that. So then I'm on 2 kids, and I'm barely raiding at all anymore. Barely playing PC games at all. And it's like maybe like 8 or 9 o'clock at night after all the kids are in bed and the house is quiet. I'll play for a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and so little by little I could play less. I have 3 kids now, by the way, too. So it's even less time for PC gaming or any kind of. But I do a little bit now with them. But so what happened is I was sitting around one time, and it's hard being an adult if you live somewhere and you don't have, maybe, I don't know, like a connection to people. And I think X-Wing and board games and stuff, it was the social aspect that I was really missing, because when I grew up playing like Nintendo 64 and Mario Kart and GoldenEye and stuff, you had couch multiplayer, right? Four player split screen, and you played with your buddies, and that was a truly great multiplayer experience, because nothing says satisfaction like gunning down 3 of your friends with a rocket launcher in a little room, and you can like see the look on their faces.
Yeah. So, or if you manage to kill someone with a club, they're just astonished that you were able to land enough hits.
Oh yeah, or they get frustrated because you found all the remote mines and just mined the room that had the rocket launcher in it. Right?
Exactly.
But yeah, so I really missed that. And one thing I started to not have in computer gaming and online gaming was that sense of, I don't know, that sense of camaraderie, because you were just, you log on to, like, let's say Quake or Doom or some kind of, or Call of Duty, actually, probably better. You go online and you play with some people, and I mean, I'm getting older now. I'm in my late 30s, but I can't keep up with these kids anymore. And I used to be great, and I'm not quite as good. I'm starting to slow down a little bit, and then I'm just getting tired of hearing, some 14-year-old, express vulgarities at me and stuff like that. You don't even know me, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally understand, because I'm going to be 40 this year, And
wow! Congratulations.
Thank you. And I have my wife and I have a 1-year-old. So, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from because, like, my video gaming passion has always been fighting games.
Okay. Street Fighter
is my all-time favorite video game. I love competing in tournaments and everything, but to be competitive in tournament, you have to devote serious time to it.
And from what I understand is you see it's getting even more and more complex. Like the amount of time you have to put in to stay on top of your game is exponentially increased.
Yeah, if I wanted to be a tournament level competitor, I would have to play minimum 3 to 4 hours a day, minimum. And having kids understand that is not.
You'll find yourself staying up to 2 a.m. just to get your time in, and then you're a zombie the next day.
You're no good to your wife, you're no good to your kids, and just it doesn't.
And then you're in a bad mood, and it becomes toxic. It becomes really toxic, and then you start to resent the hobby that you once loved because you're like, now it's become a job. Yeah, and that's what happened with me with EverQuest.
Even worse, you start to resent your kids. For taking that time away from you. So, like, I still play. I still go to tournaments, but I'm just cannon fodder at tournaments. I go for the interaction and the people and whatnot.
Yes,
and
because you have a mutual love of this medium, and you can talk to people about stuff, and maybe you're not competitive as much, but you still have so much in common with them about the hobby.
So I totally understand where you're coming from in that.
Absolutely. So what happened is one of these days I was getting kind of lonely because of I didn't feel like I wasn't in a raiding guild anymore, and I don't live in my hometown anymore because I was in the Army after high school and I got out and moved to Orlando. I was originally from a different part of Florida, but I didn't have any friends, and at least local friends, and it's hard for like a guy in a new town to make friends unless you like are forced. It seems to me like that women tend to make friends easier, at least in my experience, because a lot of guys, at least my age, are very standoffish about other guys they don't know, and it's kind of a bummer, like not all guys are. Then I've come to find more, but
it helps
generally,
if we find the common language.
It definitely does. It also helps if you happen to maybe work with people your own age. I was working in a lab with a lot of older people that were at least 20 years older than me. And so while, we were friendly, we weren't going to hang out outside of work. It wasn't that type of relationship.
Yeah.
And so if you're in school, if you're going to college or whatever, you're going to be forced to be in a situation with people maybe in your age group or whatever, and you're going to develop friendships that way. But I wasn't at the time, so I was sitting at home watching YouTube, and I came across this video. Will Wheaton was playing on this show called Tabletop.
I'm very familiar with it.
Yes, and he was playing X-Wing, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this looks interesting." Are they playing a board game on you're going to watch somebody else play a board game? That doesn't sound like fun, because I've never enjoyed being a voyeur. I'm not even really a big fan of like Twitch and stuff like that. I am starting to understand the appeal, but I'm not a big fan of it personally.
Yeah.
But so I decided I'd sit down and watch this, and their commentary and the models. I was like, oh my gosh! It reminded me of I used to play. Play with like Micro Machines as a kid, and I remember when they came out with the Star Trek and the Star Wars Micro Machines, and I just thought, me and my friends thought they were the coolest things ever. And the only problem is they weren't like all to scale. Like a Star Destroyer would be almost the same size as an X-Wing, but I still loved those things, and I couldn't find them. And I remember even one time I was looking for some of them on eBay, and they're like $50 a pack or something, or even more than that because they're so old. So when I saw these miniatures, I'm thinking, boy, even if I don't like the game, I still get this amazing, better than Micro Machines quality miniature, and it's gonna, and it's cheaper than it will cost me to get them on eBay. So it seemed like a low risk situation because it was something from my past that I wanted. I mean, we all kind of, grew up with Star Wars. So, I mean, it's hard, it's rare to be even a little bit nerdy and not love Star Wars. So.
Oh, yeah. Drew and I are both huge Star Wars fans.
Yeah. It's and especially since everything from X-Wing, at least for the first couple of waves, was all original trilogy stuff. It was like you weren't going to turn anybody off. You weren't going to, and it wasn't for many waves. So they started getting into the EU a little bit more and started pulling from the fringe. But all that stuff for the first couple of waves, the X-Wings, the A-Wings, the B-Wings, which was always my favorite ship. I fell in love with that. But I think it was the Millennium Falcon model that really sold me on the game, because it's still one of the best models they've ever done.
Yeah, it's the quality that they put out is, and I said something similar to Drew when I got started. I said the same thing to my wife. I'm like, listen, if I don't like this game, worst case scenario, I got some really cool little decorations for my desk at work.
Absolutely. I know a lot of people who do that don't even play the games. And the same thing goes with Armada, which is another game. I'm not sure if you've played that one yet, but it's just the same thing. It's just running the Star Destroyers and the capital ships. And so if X-Wing is a dogfight, Armada is like doing the Battle of Endor. Yeah. Right, and those are really great. It's the same sculpt artists and the same paint, the same overall quality. Like Fantasy Flight Games has just amazing miniatures. They're one of the top miniature games or companies that manufacture miniatures. So anything coming out of them is going to be amazing. And so it's just so nice that a company like this ended up with that license.
Yeah. So what, aside from X-Wing and Armada, what are some of your top tabletop games? Like what mechanics do you like? What are like your top ones that you'll just play?
I can tell you what I don't like. I'm not a big fan usually of Euro games. I like more Ameritrash stuff. I am very turned on. Like if it has miniatures, I'm 10 times more likely to like it. So I started off when I first started getting into board games. A friend of mine messaged me through the forums, and it was a guy said, "Hey, I said you were saying you were looking for people." I was on the Fantasy Flight forums. He said, "You're looking for people to play X-Wing with?" Turned out he lived like 2 blocks down the street from me, and now he's one of my best friends. But so we met up, we played a game of X-Wing. Then like 2 days later, he's like, "Hey, you want to come over to my place this time? I'll show you some different games." And I was like, "Oh, different games? I just like X-Wing, and so we played Dominion, which is deck builder. It's one of the fathers of the granddaddy of all deck builders, right? And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool, because it reminded me of my teenage years playing Magic the Gathering. Yeah. And I think a lot of people who are gamers now if they didn't play Magic the Gathering, they're at least familiar with it, because that's just so big, still big. It blows me away how big it is today. So I played Dominion. I really liked that, and honestly, I liked it so much that most other deck builders I'm not pleased with, because to me it's like you don't compare to the granddaddy. I've played a couple of deck builders that I like, but most I don't like. But I like mostly miniatures games, sometimes cooperative games. Like I love Zombicide. And all the new versions like Black Plague, I think, is the perfect cooperative game. It's got great miniatures, and it's so much fun. I even play it with my kids because it's a co-op, so I can kind of help guide them in what decisions to make, because we're all going to live or die together. But I like that sort of thing. But I'd say my favorite game type is, or at least my favorite game mechanic, is like the social deduction, something like Werewolf or the Resistance, where somebody is a traitor or a spy and we're all trying to figure out who that is, because it gets the social interaction going, and I really love that part. Yeah,
I've got a game like that we haven't had a chance to play yet. The Batman game, Batman the Animated Series game, based on the episode Almost Got Him.
Oh, really? Is I know they had a Batman love letter.
No, this is completely its own thing. It's similar to Werewolf by Night, but it's based around a poker game mechanic. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the episode of the animated series.
No, I'm not.
It's basically just like the villains are sitting around a poker table telling their stories of how they almost got Batman. Oh. And little do they know, Batman is actually disguised as one of them and reveals himself at the end of the episode. And so the game is trying to figure out who is Batman.
Oh, that's brilliant. I like that. I like that a lot. That sounds like that would be fun.
It does sound fun. We haven't had a chance to play yet, because I think the minimum is 6 players. And our game nights average between like 4 and 5 normally.
I see. Yeah, that is a problem with a lot of games like that, like Werewolf. So I've never played Werewolf, even though it's one of my favorite game types. And because usually it takes like 12, 15, 30, 40 players to play a game of Werewolf. And so many people that I know, like here in Orlando, there's a lot of game companies and a lot of game designers start out of here, and there's like a game store on every block. It's actually an amazing town to live if you're a board gamer. But so many friends that I've come to meet here that are into board games hate playing Werewolf because it's got that single player elimination, and nobody wants to play an hour-long game where within the first 2 minutes they could be killed.
Yeah.
Yes. So usually it's only played at conventions, and I actually had the opportunity to work for Asmodee and at this one here called Dice Tower Con, and I was going to play Werewolf, but they didn't start it until 11 p.m. at night, and I would get off at 6, and by then I was so tired. I'm like, I don't think I could stick around for 5 hours and then start gaming, because it would go until like 8 in the morning. It was rough, so I ended up not even being able to do it. If I was about 10 or 15 years younger, I would have been able to do it, no problem.
Yeah.
Or if I was staying at the hotel, but it's hard to justify a hotel when you live 20 minutes down the road.
True. But, so let me ask you this: you mentioned that you prefer Ameritrash over Euro games. Is it because I'm sort of the same way. For me, it's that a lot of times the Euro games don't have the visual appeal, and that's what hooks me first. Is a good visual.
9 times out of 10, that's it. I do love good components. There are some games that don't have minis that have nice components, and that's definitely a plus for me. I'm not a big fan of little wooden cubes. So if a game has little wooden cubes in it, I'm probably not going to like it. But there have been a couple of minor exceptions. But the other problem I have with a lot of Euro games is that it feels like everybody's just trying to like maybe build an engine, do worker placement, and everybody's just playing their own game. And there's so many games like that are very popular, but where there's not a whole lot of interaction. It doesn't have to necessarily be cutthroat, but I would just love to see more gameplay that's interactive. Like, oh well, like I like Settlers of Catan, even though that is pretty much a Euro game. I think it's about as Euro as they get.
Yeah.
But it has so much player interaction, whether it's the trading or I'm going to block off your road. It's very involved with the rest of the people at the table. I don't like some of these Euro games where we're all just gaining resources and we're all building our own stuff. Like if everybody has their own board, it's probably not very fun for me, because I could just play that solitaire. And if I can just play it by myself, then what do I need you for? But granted, sometimes it's okay to do that, but I like to know that going forward. So if I'm learning a new game and it turns out we never interacted with each other, I might be a little disappointed.
So I might have a recommendation for you, because it's kind of a bridge between Euro games and Ameritrash. Have you ever heard of Red Raven Games?
Red Raven Games doesn't ring a bell to me right off the top of my head. What have they done? They've
done City of Iron, Islebound.
So I have heard of City of Iron. My friend David, is a major board gamer, and so there's a lot of games. I only own probably about 20 or 30 board games that are non-Star Wars related. And some of them are real small, but he has, hundreds, and he's sold, more than he even has. He's got closets and walls, wall-to-wall kind of board games. So he has suggested City of Iron to me numerous times. I just have not gotten around to it.
I would definitely second his suggestion, because it sounds like our tastes are very similar, and City of Iron is my current favorite tabletop game. Yeah,
have you played Scythe?
I have not played Scythe. I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Oh, because it seems like it's a bridge too. But I didn't mean to cut you off. But it seems a little bit of a bridge between. It's got Euro elements, but it's also area control. So you're going to definitely have some player interaction that way. But the components are gorgeous.
Oh yeah, I've seen them like steampunk mech.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
City of Iron is there is an engine building component to it, but there is also a deck building component to it.
Oh, okay.
How you kind of want? It's one of those games where there's numerous paths to victory.
All right.
Like, do you want to go through diplomacy, or do you want to go through military? It's really like it takes you a couple times to figure out how you want to go about playing the game. And there's 4 different factions you can choose from, and different factions have different strengths. One is good with engineering, another one's good, strong in military, another strong in diplomacy. So it's kind of all in how you want to go. So I would definitely recommend City of Iron.
I will definitely take that as a recommendation. I will bump it up in my internal priority list. It sounds to me, though, like a type of game you'd probably want to play through like once or twice before you have an understanding. Like I feel like a lot of those type of games, it takes me longer to process it and digest it and to say, okay, I understand this game now.
It's relatively easy. Like your first playthrough, like with any tabletop game, is going to be longer because there's a lot of options you have on your turns. So, but once you get an idea of what does what, playthroughs go pretty quickly. It's probably about a 45-minute to an hour game once you
that's not bad.
Understand how everything works.
Yeah, I felt like that with it was a new game from Asmodee that I was actually teaching at Dice Tower Con called Dice Forge. And it's a dice crafting game.
Yeah, I saw your video on that, and it's starting to show up in stores around here.
It just recently came out, but that's one that's not exactly Ameritrash, but it does have nice components.
Yeah.
The other card art is really nice. The dice are pretty cool, and people like that you're building your own dice, because some people don't like the randomness of a die. Well, that's you can mitigate that by building your own die, but it's dice are your engine also, so it's definitely got engine building, but it took me a couple of playthroughs, and I was like, I'm not so crazy about this game. I was on the fence with it. And then playing it over and over again, or teaching it to other people over and over again, I started to come up with new strategies. And so I think by like maybe the 8th or 9th playthrough, I started to fall in love with this game. And I felt bad that they made me send the game back to them after the convention was over. So I'm going to probably have to go pick up my own copy of that game, because I really started to like it. And I was like, well, maybe that's the problem with some of these games, is that they're so in depth that it takes much longer, to learn them. And since I came into the board game scene later than so many of my friends, like I know people who've been playing, tabletop games since the 1980s, and they were, games that are classics to them, like I've never even played, and so they all these games that, like, all right, we're going to teach you, Twilight Imperium. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let's play it. And they only want to play it one time, because they've played every game 1,000 times already. So they don't want to, play the same game more than once a year, because, they've got to, but for me, I would need to play it like maybe 4 or 5 times before I really felt as comfortable with the game as other people do. And that's the downfall of coming in soon. So I think it's definitely advantageous to like stick with a relatively smaller library of games when you're getting into it, and play those a couple of times and really, get comfortable with them, and then little by little introduce a new game. Because when I first got into it, it was a brand new game every time. I never played the same game twice for the first like 3 or 4 months, and it was frustrating because I felt every time I was sitting down, I had to learn a new game, and I wasn't going to understand it like until the end. I'm like, and sometimes I would win, and I didn't even knew that I won. Like, I'm like, why? I didn't even feel like I was winning. I had no idea what I was doing, and I won. So it doesn't even feel satisfying when that happens.
I did that the first time we played Seven Wonders.
Oh, great game.
I won simply by having a massive pile of money in front of me. So I was like, okay, sure. But yeah, I really like that game too. So let's move on to your YouTube channel. How did that start? When did that come about?
Oh boy, that's a little bit of a longer story, but for the simple answer is it started from me just watching other YouTubers. There was a YouTube channel out there for X-Wing. Once I watched Will Wheaton, that's what really started it, and then I started looking for more X-Wing videos, and there weren't that many. And I found myself like just watching the same battles. Like I think there was only maybe 3 people doing YouTube videos when I first started for X-Wing, and one of them had stopped. Like this was a guy called X-Wing Tactics or something like that. And he taught me a lot of just basic stuff about like flying TIE fighters in formation, and he did like 12 videos, and that was it, and he never did another one. And I was like, man, I really wish there was more of this, because this is gold. And so that's kind of why I started. But I had already had the YouTube channel, because God, like, I don't know. I started off picking up a guitar and just playing on YouTube for fun. And there was this silly little Flash video called "Look at My Horse," and I did this cover of this song, and it's just a nonsense, stupid song. And have you heard of this song?
I am familiar with "Look at My Horse" because it's amazing.
Yes, and it tastes just like raisins, right?
That's right.
So I did a cover of this, and it blew up, and it got so many hits that I got an email from Google saying, "Hey, you're eligible for monetization." I'm like, "What the hell is monetization?" Because a guy hit the 10,000 view threshold or something that usually doesn't happen for just people who put their home movies on there and stuff. And so they're like, "Oh, well, you could make money off of this video," and it was getting like 10,000. It ended up getting like 50,000 hits, but they said, because I filled out the form wrong, and I said, "Well, it's not really my song. You are allowed to monetize covers," but I worded it like so strangely that they said, "Hey, you know what? We're just going to err on the side of caution. You can't monetize this video." And I was thinking, "Dang, that stinks." So then once the X-Wing thing started picking up, I eventually was able to make a little bit of money off of it, but it wasn't, you have to make $100 before they'll send you a check. So it took me, I don't know, like a year or so before I got my first check, but it was like, oh my gosh, I could spend this on more X-Wing stuff. So it ended up being, a hobby that ended up helping me out with another hobby.
That's pretty cool. So let's dive into the galaxy far, far away.
All right, let's do.
With X-Wing, I'm noticing now your videos have been primarily focusing on Armada.
Yes, they have. I think that's because for one, I've been playing more Armada lately. I was heavily involved in an X-Wing league. I actually started like a whole Facebook group down here in Orlando, and a whole and would turn into an X-Wing league every Thursday. And I was doing it like nonstop until the third baby came. And mentioned how the kids take a toll on your time, because my other two kids were old enough that I didn't have to be around as much anymore, because they were at the age where they're playing Xbox with each other and just didn't require quite as much attention. And I loved that, because they were playing with each other, and it was easier for me to get out. And then when the baby came, that just kind of reset the equation, so it's harder for me to get out. And I could only get out like once a week now, as far as being able to go and play games. And so I had to stop the X-Wing League, and this wasn't long after I think the Imperial Veterans and the Ghost expansion came out. And after that point, I think I've gotten out of touch with at least the competitive scene in X-Wing. I mean, I have friends who are still, and I still occasionally go and play, but I feel like I was a little more out of touch with X-Wing, whereas Armada, it was easier for me. Like, I don't know if it was just maybe the way the engine works, but I have had so much more success with Armada. Like, I have no problem winning most tournaments that I go to, even if I don't bring the most serious list. Just because, I mean, not all. Like, I didn't do well in store championships, so it definitely happens. But I've had more success. Like, I'll pick a bad list on purpose and still win an awful lot. An awful lot more than I probably should. And so I don't know if that's just I've been really, really lucky, or maybe my brain just works, is in sync with the way Armada works. But I've had so much more success with that. And I love that it's less random than X-Wing, because you don't have defense dice in Armada. So, you actually have to, it's so much more strategic. And I liken it to, if X-Wing is checkers, then Armada is chess. So that's definitely one thing that's kind of pushed me towards doing that more. And I think the other thing is that X-Wing has gotten to a point where it's had so much success that it's overwhelming, like how many different ships are out there. And I need to probably update my my what to buy videos, but there's just so much. Like, literally, if you want to make a ship fly backwards, there's going to be a permutation of ships and pilots and expansions and upgrades and stuff that you can throw together that can make a ship do literally anything you can think of. And there literally is, like, almost infinite combinations, and so it makes it really hard to to say, oh, this is the first pilot that can do this, and then somebody will always correct me and be like, no, this, if you did this and if you put this talent on this guy with these torpedoes and this astromech, you could do that as of 6 months ago. And I'm like, well, dang! It is information overload in that game right now. It feels like, and Armada's in a much more comfortable spot because it's only got it just had its 6th wave out, where X-Wing had its 11th wave, and not only that, but X-Wing has had basically twice the amount of content because at least for the first 5 or 6 waves, every wave each faction got 2 ships. Whereas in Armada now they're only doing 1 ship per wave, so it's a much slower release schedule, and I think they're starting to do that with X-Wing as well, which is honestly better for everybody because it's better on your pocketbook, since you don't have to buy as much. But it's also better as far as the health of the game. If they do 2 ships every 3 or 4 months, which they were for a little while, they're going to run out of ships, and then they're going to have to start inventing new ships. Yeah. So that's a problem.
It's interesting to me because when I was deciding to get into one or the other, Armada was the more appealing because I think, like you mentioned, it's a much more strategic game, and that appealed to me more. But it was just the price point of Armada. When I broke it down, I was like, I can buy 1 Armada ship or I can buy 2 to 3 X-Wing ships for the same price.
Usually you can. Sometimes, like the sales, like the really good, like the clearance sales, end up being very close to the same price. But some people have argued, and I kind of get on board with this, that Armada is cheaper in a different way because there's so few ships that, like, if you're a completionist, if you're going to be like the type of person when you dive in, you go all in on a game, well, it's much easier to get everything for Armada, right? Because X-Wing just has, like 3 times as much content, or maybe 4 or 5 times as much content out there. So you'll end up spending probably the same, plus the huge ships, which are way more expensive than Armada. For the epic games, which is my favorite way to play X-Wing, by the way.
I just actually picked up the Tantive 4.
Okay.
And my wife got me the Imperial Raider for Father's Day.
Oh, beautiful ship.
So I've got a friend that I play with at least once a week, and we're working on our first epic ships and getting ready to play our first epic game.
So let me warn you that before you start to play epic, that epic is best as a casual format, because people figured out not long after epic started becoming a thing that for 300 points, which is the standard for an epic game, it's just more cost effective to put a whole bunch of Y-wings with twin laser turrets. So you get guaranteed damage, and that's kind of like the winning formula for 300 points, because you'll be able to have, like, I think something like 10 or 12 Y-wings, each with the twin laser turrets, and that's like a guaranteed 24 damage. So you could just shut anything down. You'd be like, all right, we're gonna kill your raider this turn, and now we're gonna kill 2 or 3 of your ships, guaranteed. So when people do that, it's just not fun. Like, that's not fun for anybody. The game isn't even fun. And for me, like I like to just pick what ships I want to fly first, and then add up the points second, and then add or subtract as there. But I want it to look cool on the table. That's why I play these games. Like, I probably wouldn't play these games if they didn't have the miniatures, because you can just you can put the bases on the table and just fly around, find little squares around in space. But that wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, no, we keep it casual. So
that's good. That's what you need to do.
We're excited about getting together for our first epic game at some point. But yeah, like it's interesting to see, like you mentioned with Armada, how there's less out there. It's kind of interesting with X-Wing, because when I first got into it, I said to, Drew laughed at me when I mentioned I was thinking about getting into it, and I mentioned it to my wife. I'm like, this is what I'm getting into this first and foremost to kind of have a fun game to play with my friends. And I'm going to buy, Rebel and Imperials. I'm going to hold off on Scum. And then I'll just bring what I have to our game nights or to whatever. And then also I looked at it like down the road. I'm like, this is something my son might really enjoy doing with me. So I'll have this for him set aside. And it just, it's like, it's like, that, have you seen that comic where it's the father playing with the son? And they're
Yes,
just
I
playing
think I
with
know the one you're talking about.
And the wife is like, core set, that sounds like something where expansions are. And then the next panel is just an entire room
Mistakes
full of
were made.
Mistakes were made.
Yes.
Sir, I am at the mistakes were made phase.
Yes, it's. I see. I disagree with that though, because those aren't mistakes. You get to keep those things forever.
It's a blast.
And Fantasy Flight Games has a long-term plan for this game too, so it's not like it's going to go away. And it's so popular right now that even if they did somehow maybe lose the license or discontinued X-Wing, it would continue. There's a good enough community that there would be, maybe there would still be expansions. Like, I played a game when I was much younger called Star Trek customizable card game by a company called Decipher. They also had a Star Wars customizable card game, but the Star Trek was clearly the better game. And Decipher ended up going away, and there was a website, and it still exists to this day, called the Continuing Committee. And what they do is they organize tournaments, and they design their own expansions for this game, and they play test them, and then they release them in PDF format for people to print out their own cards and use them in meetups. This way they're using, everybody's on the same sheet of music, and I think that same type of thing would happen with X-Wing if it were to go away, because it's so popular.
It's not only is it popular, it's just incredibly fun to play. And I think if it doesn't have that, then like Star Wars is a great brand to have, but the brand alone is not going to sustain something that's not a quality product.
Right.
So
look at like games like Wizards of the Coast. I used to have Star Wars games. And some of it has to have both. It has to have quality, and it has to have the IP to get the draw.
And I think what Fantasy Flight did, and you convey this very well in your unboxing videos, is the unboxing in and of itself is a fun experience. Sitting down with that new ship and getting it out of the box and just like kind of setting it on stand and going through those cards and starting to formulate in your head, okay, how am I going to use this? How's this going to work? Where's this going to fit in?
Do you know what I wish they would do? I wish they would stop, and I don't know if I kind of wish that they would almost release an expansion that had no preview. So this way, like, it comes out and you honestly don't know what's inside. Because every wave, they usually spoil almost every card. Sometimes there's a single card that's unspoiled. But, for somebody like me who, is always on the forums and always, connected, I'm always lurking. So there's no way I could even avoid the spoilers if I wanted to. Plus, it's kind of my, it's kind of my brand to go out there and talk about what's coming. Yeah. So, but I remember when I first got into the game, because I didn't join right at the launch. I joined around wave 3, and so when I would order an expansion, and like I ordered a couple online and some I bought locally, like I remember opening that first B-wing and being like, oh, what's going to come in here? Oh, we've got cannons, we've got all this other cool stuff, and I had no idea, and I was like, oh, I could fly it this way, I could put this on there, oh, I could put this on this other ship, and was like thinking of all the different combinations. It was like Christmas, and it was amazing.
Yeah, and learning about the ships and finding what works. And I think that kind of brings us to a conversation on the meta.
Oh, yeah, that's a bad word.
Well,
not really.
The game itself is extremely easy to learn. And the base mechanics of the game are what I think keep you coming back. That moment of excitement between when you let the dice out of your hand and when you see what they are on the pad. The meta, the game within the game, I'm fascinated to see how it's changed over the waves. Let me kind of give you an example of where I started about roughly 3 months ago. So this is my first new wave. To give you an example of the mistakes are made panel, the only ships I'm missing from Imperials are the Upsilon shuttle, and the only ship I don't have for the Rebels is the Ghost.
So you've had a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, I've caught up a lot, and now I'm starting to work my way into Scum and Villainy.
Okay.
And I've noticed that, as I watch older videos in comparison to newer videos, that my squad building has kind of naturally gone through what the meta has gone through.
I think if you've come into it more recently, like one of the things that X-Wing is starting to experience is power creep, and if anybody's not familiar with power creep, that just means as new expansions come out, new products get more and more powerful to where the original products aren't as good and don't compare very much anymore. And the example here is that the original X-Wing, Luke Skywalker in Red 5, was awesome when the game first launched.
Yeah.
Now he is like nobody flies him
I've
anymore
never
because
used him.
Yeah, and he's not that bad. The problem is everything else they're coming out with is so much better.
Yeah.
My favorite example is the B-Wing. Like I said, it's my favorite ship in Star Wars, always has been. I always thought it looked really, really cool. Looked like a sword flying through space. Right? When I was a little kid watching Return of the Jedi, I was just like, that is so cool. And plus the toy had the gyroscopic cockpit on it, so it was awesome. I mean, I never had the toy either. That was like one of the few I never even got to play with, but I saw other people having it, and I was so jealous.
Drew will laugh at this. I had the toy.
Do you? Good.
Of course
I wish
you
I
had
did.
the toy.
I
would if I could find one. Like I
had
checked.
a very spoily grandmother as a child.
You're fortunate, sir. That's awesome. I'm happy for you. And I mean that genuinely.
It wasn't a good thing, sir. Later in life, that doesn't help you develop good work ethic or anything. Trust me.
Well, there's pros and cons, I suppose.
Yeah.
But so like the B-Wing is my favorite ship, but it's kind of garbage now because for almost the same points, get this, the Skurg, which just came out, and it completely trumps the B-Wing. It's got way more hit points. It has way more upgrades and capabilities and newer pilots that can do amazing things. And if you look at the pilots that came with the B-Wing, they're just not as good. And then even like they tried to upgrade the B-Wing in Rebel Aces a couple of years ago, and even the newer B-Wing pilots just don't cut it. And that's one of the reasons is because like the B-Wing was great at the time because it had three attack dice, and they thought the 3 attack dice was going to be the ultimate, because like they even made an HWK 290 with only 1 attack die, and then they realized that there was power creep, and then they said, we'll never make another 1 attack die ship. Now 2 is going to be the lowest. And then there were ships with 4 attack dice, and I imagine one day we'll see ships with 5 attack dice.
See, it's funny because like how new players kind of move through the meta, and for maybe those of you listening who may not fully understand what we're talking about here, meta is kind of game within the game, strategy within the game to give you an edge. And like I was introduced to a local X-Wing group here in Buffalo, and I was surprised to see that there is a thriving community here in Buffalo for X-Wing. If I wanted to, I could be out playing X-Wing almost every night of the week because it's a very well-maintained group. They say, okay, this night there are games at this game store.
Yes.
This night there are games at this game store. Here's the tournament schedule. There's communication within the group. They all seem to be really cool people. And one of my early nights when I went there, like people were saying like, B-Wings are no good. B-Wings are no good. And I looked at I've got the Aurora squad builder on my mobile, and I was like, okay, let me try this. So I had a 2 B-Wing and an ARC squad. Mm-hmm. I put out there and a 1. Now, granted, I'll be the first to admit, I was rolling hot.
Sometimes that happens.
And so, but I think, and again, this may be a difference between where your perception of the meta is at, as someone who's been in it for a couple of years now, to where my perception of the meta is at. I think B-Wings are viable, but only in a tank build. Like, you can't have just 1 B-Wing. There's got to be at least 2 B-Wings and something else tankier. Just really solid, hard-hitting punching.
There's different types of meta too, and like there's the national or the global meta of what's going to win Worlds and what were the top 8 squadrons at Worlds. For a while it was all Jumpmaster 5000s, and that was the only thing people were flying, and so like 6 of the top 8 were all triple scouts, with torpedoes, and that was the meta. But there's also the local meta, because while that was going on and everybody was flying Jump Masters, in our league here in Orlando, we only had one person that brought Jump Masters, and they only brought two. So we didn't have a single person copying the national meta or the worldwide meta, and doing the same things, because like people will build to counter the meta, and then all of a sudden, then you have to counter the counter, and then somebody walks in with something unexpected and just wins everything that maybe it shouldn't have won. But yeah, so that's really complex in X-Wing right now, because there's so many things, and there's, like I said, there's a ship that can do just about anything, and so it's very interesting, and that's one of the reasons I like Armada so much more, because I don't want to say there is no meta, but the meta is wide open. Like any single, just about any build you can have can win. We just had store championships, though I just went to this past weekend, and there were no duplicate builds. Not even close. I'm going to go ahead and say there were two builds that did feature a single Imperial Star Destroyer, but that's as close as they got. Like there were nobody that was even close to having the same exact build as somebody else, and I thought that was amazing. So I'm very pleased with that, and that's what I wanted for this game too. And that was another reason I used to do X-Wing so much more, is that when Armada was younger, there were so few ships that you would go to a tournament and every table would look the same, not because they were copying each other, but there was only like 3 or 4 ships out for a while, and it took a while for that game to get going. And now I feel like it's in its prime, whereas X-Wing is starting to become a little oversaturated. So I would like to, I'm glad that they're slowing down the rate of stuff that they're pumping out. At least a little bit, because it's more sustainable if you don't have to put out quite so much product.
I think it would be really cool if Fantasy Flight for X-Wing came out with expansions that were not ships per se, but like a pack of pilots for older ships.
Oh, I would love that too. They had done that with Armada, as a matter of fact, so they definitely have set the precedent, because Armada had this campaign, and it was just new cards that you use your existing models for. And in the case of Armada, it was for squadrons, but there's no reason they couldn't do that for the ships as well. And there's really no reason they couldn't do that for X-Wing. I think it would be amazing.
Do you see them introducing Scum into Armada anytime soon?
Not at all, because they have so many Scum ships that are included in the squadrons, okay. And the Scums don't really have a lot of capital ships. There are a couple, but not enough to justify an entire faction in Armada, and I wouldn't want that type of game balance anyway. The closest we might get is sub-factions, I think. Some people have wanted a lot of Clone Wars era ships, and I could see the Republic being a sub-faction of probably the Empire, and I could see maybe Grievous's ships and the Separatists becoming a sub-faction of the Rebels. And even though that's not entirely thematic in some of the books, because I read a lot of the new canon books, and in the early days of the Empire, there were a lot of cases of the Empire still using Republic ships, like the Venator Star Destroyers, or Venator, however you pronounce it, and Cham Syndulla in the early days of the Rebellion, using a lot of vulture droids and tri-fighters and a lot of that sort of thing. So and that's in multiple books too. So that's definitely a thing within Star Wars. So I think it could be thematic, but there can also be some, what do they call it? Like some licensing problems with that. I had heard a rumor a while back that Clone Wars era stuff was kind of off limits for X-Wing, and it may also be off limits for Armada, just because of, I don't know, maybe Milton Bradley or some, there was a game called Epic Duels, and maybe I could see, in the same way that Marvel sold off some of its rights years ago, there could be some Star Wars rights that belong to other companies for the prequel games, Okay. So that, I imagine that is probably the case, but I'm only guessing here. I want to put that out there, but. The way companies have tended to sell off rights in the past and kind of doom the future of their great company, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened with Star Wars.
So what do you think of the new wave of ships that have come out for both X-Wing and Armada?
So
Wave 11
I've done a lot more Armada
X-Wing.
stuff, but yeah, Wave 11 for X-Wing is it feels like a power creep wave for me in some ways, like the Havoc or the Skurg, I should say. I'm not happy with it because I guess an amazing ship and it's beautiful, but I feel like it's people were running triple jump masters for a while. It's like it's too good, and I feel like all the scum players now, like when we see Worlds, I bet you we're going to see a lot of triple Skurg or triple Skurg H6 bomber builds because they're just so they have so much hull. It's like so hard to kill one, and when you've only got a 60-minute round or so, somebody's not going to be able to kill all of your ships. And if you put torpedoes on them, so that first range 3 shot, they don't get their extra die. And then when you're up close, you're rolling your extra die. They have so mumuch firepower, and then plus all the bombing shenanigans you can do. And there's so many good bombs now that bypass shields. You can do all of that. It's just there's a lot of ways to get guaranteed damage out of them, and guaranteed damage definitely speeds up the game. But and then I don't know. I think that's the all-star of this build. The Wookiee gunship, the Ozatuk, seems very mediocre to me. But there's a lot of big boosts there. So I felt for a long time that looking at this stuff that it was a major boost to bigs, while at the same time also having a lot of cards that seem to work well with Epic. So it also makes me wonder if there's any more huge ships in the works, because a lot of stuff in this wave has synergy with a lot of the huge ships. So I kind of have hope that they're going to do more with Epic. But I also have my theory and my wish list. My greatest wish list for X-Wing is that they'll do a ground game. I want that so bad. Because out of all of the Star Wars stuff that they do, one of the most iconic things from Star Wars is the AT-AT. The AT-AT Walker. And they don't have a game that has an actual decent quality AT-AT miniature in it. The closest they have is Rebellion, which is amazing, but the AT-AT's very, very tiny. Yeah. It's like the size of a quarter. So, like, who wouldn't want a big old AT-AT walking on their table? Like, I mean, it would just be beautiful. And I can't believe they haven't done something like that yet.
I'm not going to lie, sir. I bit hard on your April Fool's Day video.
Oh, my goodness. Did you really?
I saw the post. I was like, no, I want this, but not now. I'm just getting into X-Wing. Stop.
Well, it wouldn't be so bad if it was compatible. Yeah, one of my best friends, only watched the first half and didn't because I tried to make it kind of like if you watch till the end, you saw me kind of laugh about it a little bit. So I tried to make it a little obvious, but yeah, I got a couple of people with that. And
I'm definitely
he got into a fight with his wife over it because he was in a bad mood for the rest of the day. He didn't watch it all the way to the end. Oh boy, yeah, I got to be careful. I don't know, but then if you're too careful, you're like, disclaimer, this is a fake video, and then it doesn't, then it doesn't get anybody. Exactly. So it's hard to find the balance there.
So as we're coming to the end here, let's discuss a little bit of Episode 8.
Oh, let's do that.
The TIE Silencer was announced and released and whatnot. It shows you how much I've gotten into X-Wing because previously, before getting into this game, my first thoughts were, man, that's going to look really cool on the screen. Now my first thoughts were, man, I can't wait to see what that's going to do in X-Wing.
Oh, yes. I think it's going to be amazing. I hope it gives them a way to get TIE interceptors back. Maybe it'll come with something that really enhances the arc dodging aspect of the Empire, because that was a fun thing. Now there's so much guaranteed damage that nobody flies at TIE interceptors anymore, because still, you load one up, get 25 or even 30 points on a Soon Tier Fell, and somebody just drops, a mine and hits you with twin laser turrets 2 or 3 times, and you're dead. You can't stop it, and so it'd be really nice to see some more guaranteed damage prevention. Although that might lead to longer games, I think it might be a little more fun, because it's fun to fly those fast ships and boost around, boost out of somebody's firing arc and barrel roll.
I tagged you in that post where last weekend I had a Jake Farrell and an A-Wing with intensity that lasted by intensity and push the limit lasted by himself for 1 hour.
I saw that, yes.
3 ships, a Phantom, an Aggressor, and a Shuttle. And he took
at a certain point. At a certain point, you have to call the game, though.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
all right,
it was
we're
just
gonna
a
do 2 more
casual
turns.
game with my friend, and he won the game, but I really won because he was just demoralized at the end of it.
It's amazing. So I'm looking forward to that in episode 8. But I'm also really looking forward to that gunship that the Resistance is going to have, because I'm so confused when I look at that. Because in some shots it looks like a capital ship, and then in other framings of it, it looks like it's just a large starfighter. There's a book coming out based on it, and it makes it seem like it says it's about the pilots of those ships, and I'm like, well, okay, so if they just have a pilot, that would kind of lean more towards starfighter for me, and I'm kind of hoping it's in the middle, because as a player of multiple, starship based games, I would love for it to be small enough to maybe be an epic ship in X-Wing, but large enough to be an armada. And if it's too small, I don't really like the way starfighters or squadrons are done in Armada. I would rather it be more all about the big ships because they look cooler on the table. So it's just a visual thing.
For the brief moment you see them in the trailer, they almost just look like a weapons platform.
Yeah, I think they're going to be able to move, but I don't think they'll be able to move very fast. Yeah. I could potentially see it being a stationary ship, like maybe it has a white stop maneuver in X-Wing. Like it just stays put.
Okay.
And I could see something like that in theory if I'm just guessing, but something like that could potentially work. But I don't know if that would make it overpowered if you put it in a spot and let it sit there. But I'm really anxious to see kind of how big they really are. I've looked at the Legos for them, but you can't use Lego as a justification, because Lego makes a Star Destroyer the same size as the Millennium Falcon. So their sizings are never to scale, so you can't trust Lego. But yeah, definitely looking for it. And there's so many ground units that are going to be like, there's going to be a really nice Hoth style battle in episode 8. It looks like, with those walkers and then those little sand skimmer looking, I don't even know what they're called yet, but those skimming things that were kicking up all the red dust on the planet.
Drew got a little scared because at first he thought they were pod racers.
They did have a resemblance to that, didn't they? They certainly did. They look very, really flimsy, though. They look like you wouldn't want to. You probably couldn't take a single hit. Like a rock could potentially knock you out of balance with those. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm really hoping for a ground game. I mean, a friend of mine I talked to about it a lot says if they're going to make a ground game, it's going to be an all new game, and they won't do that now because they just put out Rune Wars. And they're really trying to promote Rune Wars right now, and I could see that a Star Wars-based ground game might completely destroy Rune Wars if it were to come out right now. I can see that. Yeah, I get that. So I was like, well, but the problem is, in any ground game, you're going to see X-Wings and TIE Fighters also, because there's so many scenes where X-Wings are shooting walkers. You see it in Rogue One. You see it in the Battlefront games. You see it in all of this. You see X-Wings involved in a ground battle in The Force Awakens also, and I'm sure it's just part of any ground battle also has air support.
Yeah.
So if they do a ground game, they're going to at some point they're going to have X-Wings and TIE Fighters and A-Wings and Y-Wing bombers and all this stuff. And I'd hate to have to buy all those ships all over again. So it would be great if they made it compatible with X-Wing stuff and had some upgrades that would work across, just like they have the Epic format, have a ground format. I would love that. I would love it, but I don't know. It'll probably be a while. I don't know. I've had my hopes up for so long. I'm starting to lose hope.
Yeah. No, it's we're both really excited to hear about episode 8 and like the behind the scenes video that came out, the way
it looks great.
Creatures are looking. Just it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan. So, lastly, before we get you out of here,
yes,
just really quick. Can I get a squad critique?
Okay.
All right. So this is a Wave 11 influence squad. I've got 2 TIE Aggressors, both senior specialists, with twin laser turret and lightweight frame.
Okay.
And then I've got Boba Fett with expertise, bomblet generator, tail gunner, and anti-pursuit lasers. What do you think?
So you're running Boba Fett on the Empire side.
Yes, so he can swap bank maneuvers if he chooses.
Okay, so all right, we've got Boba Fett. TIE aggressors that have TLT and modified frame.
Lightweight frame, yes.
Lightweight frame. All right, yeah. I'm trying to put it into my squad builder in front of me real quick and just to take a look at it.
The philosophy is jam Boba Fett up the middle, and then the aggressors perimeter pluck away.
Okay, so Boba Fett has, what's his EPT? You said, is it Veteran Instincts?
Expertise.
That's a good one too. It's tough when somebody's at a pilot skill 8 because you're so close to hitting 9, and if you could go for 10, this is a sweet spot. At least in my, and now here's where as we come into metas. Like anytime I've gone with a 10, I've had the guarantee of being able to move last. And if you're going to change your maneuver with Boba Fett, you want to go a little bit, you want to make sure you're going to go last. So it's really stinks if they have a couple of pilot skill 9s, that like they've got maybe Darth Vader or Fen Rao or something like that. And then you're like, well, what's the point? That would completely negate the benefit of Boba Fett.
My logic with expertise is that it's one less action I have to worry about choosing from. Because
expertise is great.
I don't have to take focus because the fire spray has evade, so I don't necessarily need to worry about should I pick focus or should I pick this. It kind of takes focus off the board.
Sure. No, well, I mean, I like the aggressors with twin laser turrets. You're getting your guaranteed damage in there. Lightweight frame. I mean, and with 5 total hit points already, they're fairly survivable. They're a lot more survivable than your normal ties. So lightweight frame gives them a little bit more. So that's that much is good. And they're pilot skill 2, so you're going to be able to move, block if you need to, and you'll be able to get your focus, no problem. Boba Fett's the only one I'm not crazy about right there. One of the reasons is fire sprays are just never flown, or at least I should say seldom flown. What else did you say you had on him besides expertise?
Bomblet generator.
Oh, bomblet generator. Well, that requires 2.
The Andrasta title.
Andrasta. Okay.
So
all right.
bomblet generator, tail gunner, and anti-pursuit lasers.
Okay. So I honestly would suggest going for Veteran Instincts because of 2 reasons now. Because of his ability to be able to change directions and also for the bombs. You really want to activate last so you can see who's there. All right, so you can see who's let's see, and a tail gunner. Let me throw tail gunner right there. Tail gunner is actually pretty nice. And if you're going to go with Veteran Instincts, you could even consider dropping 1 down to Kath Scarlet because she has that tail gunning. I'm sorry, I'm getting her confused with the scum. I'm getting the scum version. Yes, she's actually, I think she's the better of the pilots in the scum version. But there's a big risk you're taking because you're counting that your opponent's not going to have any 9s, and at least if around you in your local meta nobody's taking pilot skill 9s, then this would be a very, very solid way to go. But yeah, I've just seen too often there's 9s are very, very common around me. So if I were doing it, I would bump him up to pilot skill 10 with Veteran Instincts. That would free up 10 more points, and then you have a problem. Then you have to figure out what else you're going to do. You could potentially bump up one of your ties to double edge. And the cool thing about double edge is that if they miss with the TLT, then they get an extra shot. So,
all right.
That's an option. There you go. And then you still have 1 point floating for the EPT there on double edge too, so you can give him crack shot or something like that, or Veteran Instincts for him as well. Or I'll do one more. Is that trick shot can be pretty nice on a turret because
I love trick shot.
Yeah, and I mean it's free. Free EPTs are great.
It's paid for itself.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's you don't use it at all. It's still paid for itself.
Yeah.
This is 0 point. There's no reason. We have got so many 0-point EPTs now. It's no reason not to. If anything you can put a 0-point upgrade in, put it in.
Yeah.
Even if you don't use it, you'd lost nothing. Yeah. So
Well,
there you go.
Tim, thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us some time. Please, by all means, tell the people where they can find you and where they can find your work and everything you do.
Absolutely. I have a website called Crabbok.com, and that has links to everything else where you can find my YouTube channel. My YouTube username is Crabbok. I do Star Wars videos, whether it's talking about the latest rumors for the movies, spoiler stuff. I always give spoiler warnings, so you don't have to worry about me accidentally spoiling something. But I also talk a lot about X-Wing, Armada, Imperial Assault, Destiny, even a little bit, and I do other board game reviews as well. I have some Kickstarter stuff coming in soon. I'm going to be doing those. I'm probably going to be out of the net for the next 3 weeks because I'm going to go to Kansas City for work and try to get some games in the local scene up there. So I won't have quite as many videos coming out for the next 3 weeks, but I've got a special, I'll tell you guys this too. I have a special thing planned up here pretty soon. I'm going to be doing an interactive game of Armada where you have to successfully fly a Corellian Corvette and get it from point A to point B, and you'll be making the decisions on YouTube and clicking what you want to do and seeing kind of like one of those old choose your own adventure books. So that will be coming up in the next month or so. So you're the first one to hear about that. But yeah, so Crabbok.com and YouTube, username Crabbok. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook, all both under Crabbok. That's Crabbok, and that's about it.
All right, sir. Thank you again for your time. We appreciate it, and good luck to you. And hopefully, maybe one day you and I can meet up on the playmat battlefield and exchange some weapons fire, all in the name of galactic peace.
We'll slam our dice against each other like champions. All right,
Alrighty,
absolutely. Thank you guys
sir.
for having me. You have a wonderful day.
All right, that was our interview with Tim Bailey, a.k.a. Crabbok. We definitely appreciate Tim's willingness to come on the show and his willingness to go a little over. We were originally aiming for about half an hour to 45 minutes, but as you folks just heard, it went a little longer than that. We thanked him very much for allowing us that and sharing his passion with us. We are a show about Daredevil, yes, but we are also a show about passions and things we love, and we're going to talk about those at different points. And as I've mentioned before, and as Drew's mentioned before, we're kind of in this this gap between Daredevil season 2 and Defenders, so we can do some fun one-off stuff like this. So big thanks to him. Go check him out on his YouTube channel and his Twitter. Give him a follow. He's a good guy. And if you like gaming, he's a good guy to follow. So that being said, if you'd like to follow us, send us questions, suggestions, comments on the show. You can do so at the following social media outlets. You can follow us on Twitter at Devils Do Pod. You can go to Facebook.com/Devils Do Pod. You can email us at thedevilsdopod@gmail.com. And you can also find all these resources available to you on our website, thedevilsdopodcast.com. Drew, any last thoughts?
No, I need a nap. So, I'm still a little... Can you get jet lagged in the same time zone? I think yes. Travel.
I think by its definition, no. But you can just say you're tired.
I'll tell you what, booking through an airport, dealing with, slow humans who don't understand the concept of the moving sidewalk, it can wear on you. It would definitely tire you out. So
if there's one thing, I've talked about this with Julie, if there's one thing that I think people in this world nowadays struggle with the most, it's environmental awareness.
Yeah.
Not being aware of what's going on around you and also not caring what's going on around you.
Yeah. Let me tell you about the security line sometime. Anyway, no, I'm good, man.
Were you selected for a random search?
No. Security was fine. People in the line, though.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so maybe you want to hang out and play a game of X-Wing after...
I might pass out.
It's fun. It's relaxing.
I don't need to be relaxed right now.
I'll make you coffee.
I'm already relaxed.
All right. Folks, thanks for joining us. Hope to have you back next week. Our numbers are growing. Thank you so much for that.
Keep sharing, man.
Keep sharing. Share new episode announcements. Retweet us. Share us, please. We appreciate it. So, me and Drew, court is adjourned.